All right, today's lesson is going to focus on downloading and importing images from the internet. We're going to use that to trace today. If you create a brand new drawing, make sure you zoom all and turn off your grid. And once that's done, we'll navigate over to the internet and we'll search for an image. In Google, go ahead and search your favorite cartoon character. I'm going to choose Phineas from Phineas and Ferb. So Phineas and Ferb, Phineas Flynn, I guess. He's a pretty easy one to trace, it looks like. And click on just one of the images of your cartoon character that you like. When you select that first image, it's going to pop up over onto the right-hand side of your Google search bar. If you need to click on images to get to this bigger screen, you can go ahead and do so as well. But when you have this image off to your right, I'd like you to right-click with your mouse and choose Save Image As. We're going to go ahead and just save this image. Probably to your desktop will be easiest to find. So save this drawing here over onto your desktop, and you can close your Google browser. For me to get that drawing into AutoCAD and on my drawing window, I want to come up to this Insert tab. We'll insert it by inserting it as a reference. On the reference panel, you want to choose the Attach button, and now you want to navigate and find that file. Mine was on my desktop, so I'll find the file of Phineas, and I'll click Open. The Attach Image dialog box pops up with two options checked. We want to keep them checked. The insertion point, where it goes on my screen, and then the scale, how big it is on my screen. Keep both of those checked and click OK. I'm going to place it kind of in the bottom middle of my screen, and as I slowly bring out my cursor, I can set the size to fill up my screen. Once it's nice and full on my screen, I can pan around, I can zoom in and out, and the image is part of my drawing. What I now want to do is trace it with either the line tool, the arc tool, some circles. I don't know if I have any perfect circles here. What I prefer to trace it with, though, is the polyline tool. The colors that are on here, if I choose polyline, it would start drawing a white line. And it might be really hard for me to see my actual line or object as I'm tracing. What I like to do before I start is choose a color that's not in my drawing, something really bright like magenta. If you have magenta in your drawing, choose something really bright like cyan or green. I'm going to choose magenta and start my polyline. I'm going to come up here to, say, the top of his head. I have a nice hard corner right there. When I start my line, you'll notice that it's not as thick as my cartoon lines. So I'm going to set my width of my polyline. W, enter. I'm going to try 0.125 for my starting width and 0.125 for my ending width, and that's too large. It's about half as big, maybe a little over half too much. So I'll just change my width. W, enter, 0.06, enter, 0.06, enter. Well, that's a pretty good guess. Okay. As I bring my line out, I can then trace my drawing up until my line stops. So I'll come to about there on the bridge of his nose. For me to come around his nose, I can hit A, enter for arc, and I can click a few times and get it to look appropriate before I start back to a straight line. If I want it to be a straight line, one of the options down here on my command line is L, enter for line. And I can bring it straight out until it starts to bend again. Looks like it actually starts to bend back here. I'll hit A, enter for arc, and I can arc up and around until it changes its radius. and I can continuously click around until I get something that looks appropriate. Right now it looks like I've misclicked. I've got my curve too much that I'm off of the path. So I'm going to hit U enter to undo, and oh, my width went away. I got to W enter, set it back to 0.6 or whatever value you chose, and I can bring out my arc to where I'm following along this path. For me to change, if it's a hard corner like it is right there, in the arc tool there's an option of my second point. I'm going to hit S enter for second point. What I'm doing is using it like the arc tool of our 3-point arc, and you can change the path in which it goes down. I think the more you're zoomed in, the more accurate you can be. And I'm just going to trace each of these lines using my polyline arc tool. S enter for second point, and I'll bring an arc that comes down around for his neck. When I get to a place that stops or changes color, I'll hit escape and I'll end my polyline. Even for objects like his eyes, I'll use the polyline arc tool, and I'll come around with A enter for my arc and S enter for my second point. I'll come up and trace these objects all the way around, even if they didn't have any straight segments. When I get back around to finish and I want to close it on in, I can hit CL for close, and now I can trim, TR enter enter. I can trim out that object that came through this circle. I can do another polyline arc for his second eye. I'm going to start off of his face, A enter, S enter, and bring up an arc that comes in for this eyeball that's hidden behind, and I'll pass through and use that technique of trimming, TR enter enter, and trim off these extra segments. On portions that get thinner, I have to use some estimation. If this line is 0.06 wide, this line for his iris might be 0.03 wide. So I'll do a polyline, start it in the middle, W enter for width, 0.03 for my starting and ending. I got pretty lucky. A enter for arc, S enter for second point, and I'll just keep using this polyline arc to trace the objects around my drawing. Again, I'll use my CL enter to close. You might notice that it's pretty sharp right here for the ending of his eye. So I'll green crosshatch and modify my point of my vertex. What I'd like you to do is continue to trace your objects, fill in some hatches, change your colors back to what they should be. If you don't know what they should be, you can always copy your image over to the side, and you can get a nice reference of where they should be or what they should look like. By the end of the day, I'd like you to have your entire drawing traced, colors filled in, and some great detail. When you finish your drawing, delete your image that's underneath so we can see your actual image that you're drawing and your reference that you were using. All right, have fun, good luck. We will show these the next time I see you.